Okay, the Walking Dead podcast with Eric Kane and Paul Tassi. That is what I have it officially called right now.
Sure,
we
why not?
are. Yeah, I mean that's what we're on iTunes now.
Oh, we are,
and
nice.
we have it all. Yep, we have it all set up, and that is the name of the podcast because
if you search for it, you'll find it. The end. No clever names needed.
No clever names. You want The Walking Dead, and you know Eric Kane and Paul Tassi. You've got it. You've got your podcast. So yeah, episode 3 was really good. I thought episode 2 was pretty good, but episode 3 was better. It was
really good.
I think
really good.
Really good. Yeah,
it was one of my favorite episodes in a couple of years, I think.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think probably since maybe early season 6 because. Well, I don't know. Maybe
there was a couple okay ones in the Negan War. Like I still really like the Ezekiel episode in the Negan War, which was last season. But general start to finish, like non-bottle episode, this was really surprisingly good. And we say this as people who have been like bashing the show for years now because it's been really bad. But hey, if the show gets good, we're positive about it. It's funny how that works.
Yeah, it is funny. It's funny to me how. Over the last couple of years, I know you and I have both gotten a lot of hate from fanboys, and fangirls who say, they know true Scotsmen, the real fans love this show no matter what, and the real and you guys are just, you hate on it for clicks and da 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 da. It's like no. Like when it's good, we'll say so. When it's bad, we'll say so. And really, honestly, I wish it had never gotten bad because. As far as like our bottom line is concerned, the show doing well is good for us too.
Yeah, the clicks thing back when it was 15 million viewers a week. Hey, we got a lot more clicks back then when it was good and people were paying attention. Now we get a lot less clicks. So
yeah, like not even a fraction of the clicks. Yeah. And it's not because that's the other thing. There's this weird belief in some circles of fandom that like if there's someone critical of this thing, it hurts this thing. And like no, criticism actually doesn't hurt a show or a game or whatever. It's like the canary in the coal mine. We're trying to warn the people making the show that they're doing stuff wrong, and it's going to lead to what we've seen with The Walking Dead, which is drastically declining ratings and
it leads to improvement much lower too. I mean, like that's exactly. People were complaining so much that they're fixing the things that people were complaining about. Like, hey, Daryl hasn't had more than like 20 lines in 2 seasons. Like maybe you should fix that. And, oh, look what happens. Like. Daryl's got a ton of lines now. Things are way better. Like stuff like that is the kind of thing that gets fixed pretty quickly. Well, not quickly, but not quickly. Like if they actually listen and get someone in charge who will make those changes, here we are.
Yeah, it's frankly, it's sort of shocking how long it's taken to improve the show. It's weird on so many levels because like Scott Gimple, who, everyone has pretty much decided is the great villain of this tragedy. It was a showrunner during some of the very best seasons of The Walking Dead. I'm not sure what happened between those seasons and the Negan War, but I am glad that he stepped aside and that we have a new showrunner who does seem to be paying. I mean, there's just such a huge boost in quality all around the entire show. I mean, it just looks better.
Yeah,
the music is better. Everything's better. I don't know what took so long for them to get.
I don't know either. I don't quite know what the barrier was before. If it was like AMC dictating like this should be like this or Gimple or whoever, but because I mean Angela Kang she's been writing on the show since I think season 2, so it's not like she's some super fresh face, and like she's been around in the good times and the bad times, and. So she's not like super new blood, but I guess under her direction, I've read a lot of cast interviews that say people just really like working with her. Like they're like kind of side shading Gimple, but they're like, Angela is so refreshing. Like I love working with Angela, blah, blah, blah. So that's interesting.
And they also, I've heard them say they like working with a woman as the boss.
Yeah.
And I think maybe we're seeing some of that in like the scene in episode 3 with Rick, Michonne, and Judith. Well, first with Rick and Michonne, where he's like, let's have a baby. And then in the next part where they're all kind of hanging out and just playing, and it's nice and it's sweet. And it's like, we hardly ever got anything like that before.
No, there were very few human moments. It was like, let's have this conversation to drive the plot forward. Let's have this gunfight to drive the plot forward. Like that was pretty much it. They kind of abandoned character development because it's like, well, these people have been around 8 years. Like everybody kind of knows them by now, like the end. But
Yeah.
when they go back to that, and that's how they've set up these kind of really interesting conflicts. And I think kind of what the show has done best was probably exemplified by, I guess, the big reveal in tonight's finale, which I guess we'll just spoil it outright, which it was the reveal that the Seaside Women have been hunting specific saviors that were responsible for killing their husbands or brothers and like all the men of the camp. And that's something like Seaside never really needed to exist as a group. Like if they're not from the comics, they really did almost nothing in the Negan War. But here we had this kind of minor, almost irrelevant group given purpose again by actually diving into the context of like who they are and why they would do this and why they would seek revenge. And it's like, oh yeah, they murdered half of our people. Like, yeah, you guys lost Glenn, but like we all had that happen to us too. So when everyone was kind of lining up the usual suspects, like, oh, is Daryl hunting them or Maggie? It's like, no, it's the Seaside people we all forgot about. And I thought that was a really clever way of bringing in this group. And they did it in a really powerful, emotional way too, in a way I wasn't expecting. And they integrated that as kind of a stepping stone in the larger Maggie, Daryl, Rick conflict. So like all of this was just so well, it was well acted, it was well set up, it was well put together. In terms of the larger arcs, it was very well done. I loved it.
Yeah, that scene where Cindy is explaining what happened, and she says they killed her mom and her brother, but then we realize her brother was 11, and when we realized that this Arat, I think was her name, had her words were no exceptions. That's when Daryl and Maggie just turn around and start to walk off. And it's such a great moment. It feels like I don't know, like a classic, like a mobster movie or like a revenge, like I don't know, like it's had a great classic feel to it. Like that scene with them walking away, not saying anything, and then you see her get executed in the background, and it's just really, well, it was, first of all, it was very emotional, like you said. I was feeling like I haven't felt like real emotions watching this show in a while, and so it was pretty great to feel that.
Right, and these aren't even people we care about. It's just right. The power of a well-scripted scene. Like no one's ever really cared about the Seaside group, but they managed to create this incredibly impactful moment out of characters that are like 14th string characters, and that's like the power of good acting and writing and direction. And because that's something we've seen before, or not for a long time.
Yeah, I would say you're absolutely right. They've been such minor characters, but now I want more of I want to see more of Cindy. Let's make her a main character. She's more interesting and has a better and more interesting backstory than a lot of the kind of tier 2 main characters.
Say Tara? I know you're going to say Tara.
I don't care for Tara. Tara has had almost no screen time in this season so far, and
look how well things have been.
It's any worse for
Sorry, I don't want to be mean to her specifically, but. I thought that this girl and Tara might end up dating at some point, but maybe I don't know.
There you go.
But everyone's kind of coupling up with these time jumps.
Well, and then some of this coupling up may be like basically calm before the storm type stuff.
I'm gonna write an article about this later, but like there are some specific people who are supposed to be killed when the Whisperers come, and I kind of hope they don't kill the people they're supposed to kill, just because it's going to be another one of those like shock value for shock value's sake moments, which I guess is technically the comics' fault for setting it up. But like sometimes, just skip that for once. And, we've had a lot of that. And I think we can introduce a villain group without just murdering 2 or 3 more main characters. I don't know. I'm just kind of exhausted with those kills.
It's not even just exhausting. The problem is if you're killing off some of the remaining likable characters, and even though I don't read the comics, I do know I can't avoid the spoilers doing what I do. But you kill off some of the remaining characters that people actually like and care about. Well, then you keep on having this problem with a show where you have a growing cast, but a diminishing cast of people that you actually want to watch on screen. Like losing Glenn. I know that was a comic thing, but that was still the biggest mistake up until probably killing off Carl.
Yes.
Because Glenn was one of the most likable characters. I mean, I think the show would have been much better over the last couple of seasons if we had Glenn as part of it. Because instead we have all this time over the season 7 and 8 devoted to characters that we just don't care that much about. And it's been better in season 9. But if we're going to lose Rick, they've made that abundantly clear.
Yeah.
And how many more people can we lose without setting up new characters that we really care about?
Well,
we're
going to lose Rick and Maggie to some extent, so
yeah,
we have to really start liking Daryl again, which is happening. So then it's all on like Carol and Michonne, and they are introducing a lot of new people. They could be good. There are a lot of people from the 100. Which is interesting, but
we've already lost one of the characters from the
I know. I was so mad about that. That was the dude I was pulling for him to I talked to him on Twitter a little bit, and I was pulling for him to land the Geralt role in the Netflix things. I thought he would have been good for it, and then he shows up for 3 episodes of The Walking Dead and gets killed off. That sucks.
It was surprising. And it's kind of funny. I know what I still kind of am annoyed by is he was set up as like this savior's like bad boy agitator, like always causing problems. Then they kill him off, and then right away we got 2 new, like especially the one guy who's the same personality.
The dude
stirring up trouble.
It's the dude from Entourage. I just kept wanting him to say like suit. I don't know if you ever watched Entourage. He's this big like anti-culture director. He's always calling like everyone suits, like, and it's like his catchphrase. And every time I see him, I cannot think of anything but that. But like, I think he should have died, and they should have kept Zack McGowan. But whatever.
Yeah. He definitely was killed off too soon, but I guess at the same time, no one was really expecting it. So that's
I was surprised. I mean, once he was like quote abducted last episode, I was not expecting him to just show up as a walker in the next episode like already. So I was like, all right,
that's a good scene.
But in terms of the other big thing that happened, we have this entire scene with Jadis and Father Gabriel, where we're now really starting to get into this helicopter other group A's and B's thing that was hinted at all throughout the Negan War. And really, I mean, if you want to count the presence of the letter A has been, I think, since seasons 5 or 6, but I have a hard time believing that they were setting this specific thing up the entire time. I think they kind of adapted this to fit that rather than I still think they've been setting out for 5 years, but
I think that there was some plan at one point, this is just a guess, but there was some plan to make the wolves a bigger conflict. And there was something that the wolves were doing with the letter A. And
maybe.
Because we were also seeing stuff about the wolves at the same time. And then there was like the conflict with the wolves, and it was over instantly, like really jarringly fast. Remember how quick that was wrapped up? Like they invaded Alexandria, and then they basically got all beat down, and they were just done.
Yeah, that was surprising. It was like, okay, so the real wolf army is going to come now. It's like, no, they're all dead. It's like, what do you mean they're all dead?
We all thought Enid was a spy.
Yeah,
right? That seemed like they were setting that up. It's just like they
it felt like an aborted plot line. But when the A stuff really started was, if they could try and tie it all the way back to this, was when they all put them in the A container at Terminus. But the Terminus people were clearly just killing and eating people they captured and not trading them. Right. And then everyone was in that A group. And now we're learning that there's a pretty significant difference between A's and B's. So what is your take on what A's and B's means?
All right. Right before I get into that, I just want to make one comment about the wolves, which is that creepy guy that's also in Gotham. Yeah. Like with the bad teeth in the wolves, with the long hair. He was a way more interesting bad guy than Negan was. I really was intrigued by him as a character, and I just wish they'd done more with that whole thing.
How did he die? I don't remember.
He died saving was it Tara or
no? I think it was the doctor woman.
Denise,
who died anyway. But yeah,
he kind of had a redemption moment, but again, it was all just rushed.
Yeah,
like it could have been so much more, I feel like. But anyways, okay, A's and B's. My theory is that A's and B's designate a type of person. Like an A is like an alpha, and a B is like a beta. And the reason I think that is because they want an A, and she was thinking that Gabriel wouldn't really work for that because he's not an A. So she was going to have to get him to help her get an A. But then when he stood up to her and was like, no, I need to tell Rick, she said, I always took you for a B. And then she clocked him over the head, meaning that like she now thinks of him as an A. Like that's where I'm at.
Yes, that is, it took me a while to get there, but that is also where I've arrived after thinking about this enough where I'm like, I was trying to think of all these different things it could be, but that seems like the most likely option. And I guess I'm wondering if the other group wants bees. I guess it depends what they'd be using them for. But if there's, leaders and followers, there's this big theory. This is minor spoilers, but like that this is tying into this group called the Commonwealth. This is this huge community that kind of is introduced later in the comics that separates people pretty much like based on your job of what you did before the collapse and after. So if you were like blue collar worker before, you'd be blue collar worker now and like get paid accordingly. Or if you were like a lawyer or a doctor or an executive, you'd be a higher class person and like be part of the ruling class. So some people are saying that this is leading into that, but I'm kind of skeptical of that because if this is really like leaders and followers, like Rick was a cop. He's not like, he wasn't like a rich, person or anything. And, right. Negan, I don't even know what Negan was. I think in the comics, he's like a school teacher or something. And I assume she was trading him as an A too. And, a lot of these leaders were not necessarily anyone, Maggie, the farm girl, like they were not high class power job people. So if those are the people this group wants for whatever reason, I don't think that those really line up. And so this might just be its completely own thing. And not to mention in the comics, no one was ever getting abducted by helicopters by the Commonwealth. Like it was just, they'd find communities and invite them or not invite them or whatever. It was not like this big, kidnap production. So I think this is something new they've kind of just invented from scratch. And I guess we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, I wonder, like, what are they... I mean, let's say it's not, like, a new thing. What could they be kidnapping these different types of people for? Like, experiments, manual labor? Like, why go to all this effort of finding people and, like, trading and, like, flying around? It's gonna be interesting to see where they go with it because it could be really interesting or it could be kind of stupid.
The implication, I think, so far is that they might be some sort of government group or at least former government where... they have access to helicopters. They have essentially what are like rations that we saw Jadis eating that are really pretty military looking rations. Right now they kind of strike me as a little Dharma initiative-ish where it's like just this mysterious science group, possibly. But like, I guess, I don't know. Do you buy this potential idea that this could be how Rick leaves, where he gets offered up by Jadis as an A, and then just disappears, and then he can come back for the series finale in season 15 or something? Or do you not think that and think he's just going to die?
Season 35, he's like an old man. So I've heard there are a couple different ideas, right? That he gets taken off by these people or that he's exiled for something. And like any ending where he doesn't die is so weird to me because... why wouldn't we still have him in the show if he's alive? Like, if he's exiled, well, why don't we have episodes of Rick in exile? If he's captured, why don't we have episodes of him in captivity? It seems like an important part of his story. So I just can't. I can see like Maggie going off if the door's still open for her to come back, with Georgie or whatever. But it's really hard for me to see why wouldn't we keep following Rick if he's still alive? Like, what possible thing could he be doing that we wouldn't want to know about?
The Georgie thing makes sense because like we know that she kind of wants to keep the door open to come back, and we know where she is and she's not in danger. No one's like sending out search parties for her. But like if Rick is kidnapped, that should become the entire focus of the show, and Michonne and whoever would be solely focused on getting Rick back from this group. And like what. You can't have that plot line that doesn't have a resolution. You can't just have them looking for Rick for years and years and years. And like, they're not going to give up. Even with a time jump, they're not going to be like, oh yeah, I remember Rick, we lost him. And whatever happened to that guy? Like that would just be so weird. So I think they kind of have to go the heroic sacrifice route or else it's not going to work. If this was a situation where we knew like Andrew Lincoln just wanted like a year off and this was going to have a clear resolution, that might be one thing. But then if they do this becomes like a Glenn under the dumpster times 10 thing where it's like up in the air for indefinitely. I think that's the wrong call. And with the way season 9's going, I'm hopeful they're going to make right calls, but I'm not willing to put anything past them at this point. So They do keep saying a lot of weird stuff like, "Oh, I'm not done with Rick Grimes yet," and this is always going to be part of me. But they're also bringing in all these old cast members for what is probably his farewell episode with like Shane and the Herschel and a couple other people. And like, why would they have like these clearly hallucinatory flashbacks or dreams?
Right.
If Rick wasn't dying, they wouldn't have had that if he was just being kidnapped. So I don't know. If I really wanted to dig into the spoilers of this, I could probably hunt down the actual answer to this, but I'm not going to. So
yeah, no, what's the point? Yeah. I mean, it's 2 more episodes, right? They've advertised this. It's like episode 5.
Have they? Right? People keep getting mad at me by saying like it's soon or something. So I'm like trying to avoid that, I guess now. But I don't know. They have been pretty clear about like Rick's final episodes and like kind of a countdown. Like I think they're going to advertise the hell out of his final episode. But
yeah, I think they said after the show, like maybe on the Talking Dead, like that it was 2 more episodes.
Is it? I mean, that's another like kind of open secret at this point. So I guess there's some people who haven't heard that. But if they're literally talking about it on a Talking Dead now, I guess I don't feel bad.
No, you shouldn't feel bad. This has been like massively advertised. I mean, this is
such weird timing too. Like you wouldn't even do it on the mid-season finale. You're gonna do it in like episode 6, okay, or 5.
Right? they're trying to be like Fear the Walking Dead.
Yeah, except Fear the Walking Dead didn't like advertise when these sudden deaths were gonna happen. Oh man, I don't know. I don't know. Was there anything else this episode that was like? I did not watch it as a refresher, so I'm kind of a little bit behind in terms of remembering everything that happened. But Maggie and Daryl are now gonna go quote unquote see Negan, which means clearly try and kill him.
Yes,
but that's not gonna work.
They should kill Negan though. There's no reason to keep him alive. No, I think that's all the high points of the episode.
What happened in the early part? I kind of forgot.
It was Rick and Michonne and the family stuff.
Yeah.
And then there was kind of like a little outbreak, like almost a riot between the Saviors and the Saviors were like acting all tough, but they didn't have any guns. It was
the Saviors don't have the guns. And then there was the moment with Carol where she's like held hostage for the millionth time and gets out of it for the millionth time because no one understands Carol.
Yeah, everyone underestimates her. I kind of like that, but they probably should have just wasted that guy. He is obviously not,
not the Rick philosophy of leadership anymore.
This is the one thing I know that they've inherited this from the past 8 seasons, but like the revolving door philosophy of like killing and not killing, it reminds me of Arrow and like some of these other shows that cannot grapple.
Daredevil. The only thing wrong with this season of Daredevil, which was amazing, is they get into that debate for the 1,000th time. I'm like, oh, please just stop.
Yeah, it's this really tiresome debate, honestly. Like either be consistent or have a clear arc that has an outcome, because you can't just go back and forth. And also these shows, they always seem to they stop having any nuance to the debate, which is like either you killing or you're not killing. There's not this idea that like, well, let's try not to kill just random people, but like this guy is really bad and he needs to go. There's no, I don't know. It just drives me crazy.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm on Team Maggie this time, where it's like, okay, Gregory's betrayed me for the 50th time. Like he's getting hung, and he gets hung, and the end. No more Gregory betrayal.
and the same thing with like the Simon's henchmen, who we know, we saw them kill all those people at the trash yard, and we know they killed all those people at the Oceanside, and like the fact that none of them were brought to justice is
they're just getting ridiculous. Like their punishment is you can't have guns, but like here's a bunch of food, like all is forgiven. Yeah, I don't know. I guess this gets into like greater philosophical questions about like, do you believe in the death penalty for serial killers and like things that are outside the show? But
certainly in this world, things are not going to be the same as in our world. I mean, this is a world that's
they keep using but like the overall argument is like, oh, like we need to put society back together, and by like imprisoning someone forever, that is somehow more civilized than like executing him for cold-blooded murder. Like I debate the premise of that idea in the first place, but that seems to be like kind of where Rick's coming from, is like jail represents order and execution represents disorder, even though the old world had both, like clearly.
I think that one problem with this debate is just how nobody has been consistent. No one's had like positions that we can go back to in past seasons and relate to. Like if you look at a show like the 100, well, the 100 has a lot of main cast conflicts, right? They like people do things in that show based on their sort of core beliefs, and those beliefs don't change fundamentally. I mean, the characters change because they're dynamic, but like the way they handle problems tends to be kind of consistent. They're sort of governing philosophies behind their actions. You know, like what's his face, the black guy, no, in the 100.
Jaha, yeah.
Like he, you know, I'm not caught up with that show. I'm in the beginning of season 5, but he is always sort of doing his governing philosophy is consistent. He is uncompromising, and he's always about the Sky Crew first, right? Like, and he's also always kind of about himself. And whatever he does, you know, you can't really trust him. And then you know, every character has something where by season 5, you know how they're going to behave. You know what, because they are consistent. And in Walking Dead, you don't have any of that. Like where Rick is suddenly all about peace, but before he was all about like killing, and before that he was all
because Carl
about
died, and Carl.
But it doesn't make any sense.
Softened his heart, and
why? Why did
we killed Carl so this could happen?
It's just nobody has any like consistent like philosophy, or you know, we can't latch on to that, and so I think
Daryl does. I think Daryl's the most consistent character, honestly.
He hasn't had lines in 2 seasons, right, so who knows what he's thinking. Like I just think it makes it, and I think it's really good that we have this conflict that we do now. But I think that it's just because we haven't had really anything consistently like this before, where we could really test the beliefs of these characters. It kind of, I don't know.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm having trouble expressing it, but
no, I understand what you mean for sure.
You know, I really would love it if we got, yeah. And it's the same, like, I'll just go, I haven't been watching Arrow for a while now because I could not handle it anymore. I hear it's maybe a little better now than it was.
It was like amazing for one season, then it was like pretty okay, and now I haven't. Yeah. I'm not gonna watch the new CW seasons until they're all on Netflix, like at the very end of the season. I can't do them week to week anymore. And now there's Batwoman. I like it's too many.
It's way too much. I don't know how anyone's supposed to keep up with all that. Yeah. It's if they were 10 episodes maybe, but like 23 or whatever they are. It's
they gotta stop. Like 12, 12's the limit.
Yeah. And that show has the same problem of like characters who don't have any sort of core governing beliefs. They just wishy-wash through one to the next, you know? I wish these shows would do justice for their characters, but because they often have good characters that just I feel like are sold short.
Yep.
And I love Oliver and I love a lot of the characters on Arrow, but it's hard for me to care about them because they just, I don't know, they're
so I think it's another problem with show longevity is like you have a show and these characters around for so long, it's like you feel like you have to start just messing with their heads and changing things that don't make sense, like just in an effort to try and keep them fresh, even though that's not really what the end result is. Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
Well, I think it's longevity. I think it's just the sheer amount of material that these writers have to produce.
Yeah,
it's a lot. You know, I can't. You know, I as a critic, I have a hard time even putting myself into the shoes of someone responsible for putting together 23 episodes of TV because it just seems unnatural.
Yeah,
you know. Especially this kind of big drama, character drama TV, you know? It's not like a season of The Simpsons or something where each episode can be its own thing. And
that's what they were trying to do in season 7. Where like each episode is totally separate from all the other episodes. And those were like the worst stretch of episodes ever.
That sounds terrible. Well, anyways, we'll wrap this up. I have not watched the next episode yet.
No, I don't think we have screeners yet.
Should be soon. I'm really just crossing my fingers that this can stay.
I'm excited to watch the next episode, which I cannot say I can't say that for years now, but I'm like genuinely looking forward to future episodes.
Yeah, I think the last time I was like actually excited for an episode, I guess, was the season 7 premiere. we were.
Was that when they revealed who Negan killed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess they built a lot of hype, which was
I wasn't excited for that because I was just so angry at how that was set up. I was excited for the season 6 finale to see how that scene would go, and then I was really mad about it. But
that was so annoying.
Yeah.
But I guess I was still looking for, at that point, Walking Dead hadn't like taken the nosedive that it has now, in the last 2 seasons.
That essentially
so
was the exact start of the nosedive.
Yes.
The clear
that
nosedive.
is when they jumped out of the plane, and
yeah.
But that was also the last time I think I had really, really good traffic on a review. I mean, I think I still was getting pretty good traffic.
Well, that was peak. That was like 17 million viewers
it was huge.
For that episode. Now we're at 5.
Yeah. Oh my God. But anyways, I am excited too. I'm having a little bit of PTSD from Fear the Walking Dead's 4th season because
it started off so well.
We got the first two episodes as screeners, and they were great, and we wrote about how good they were, and then it just collapsed,
Yeah.
So I guess we'll see. All right. Well, thanks for listening.
See ya.
Catch you later.
Supplies. Our reputation's built on victory. Capture the objective.
Laser wire GTG.
Securing Alpha. Enemy has C. We're pulled ahead. Alpha secure.
Wire in place.
B secure. Taking C. Hostile attack chopper inbound. All locations locked down. Dig in and hold them. Losing Alpha. Losing Charlie.
See, Commander.
We lost Charlie.
Assault pack right here.
Losing B. Enemy took Bravo.
This'll knacker someone's day.
Securing Bravo. B locked down. Taking Charlie.
Painting targets for Hellstorm release. Lighting up targets.
Taking C. Location secure. Maintain current posture. Enemy UAV above. Mission goals are in sight. Bring this home. Losing B.
Shooter. Kill. Activating battery.
Operation complete. Nice work.